What happens when you add a third metal to the copper and zinc galvanic trick and turn a 2-mineral lick into a 3-mineral broadcasting station that covers more of the whitetail's nutritional demand than any commercial block on the market? I found out by accident. I was nailing a copper penny and a galvanized nail into a punky stump on a property in western Maryland last August. Same setup from the Ghost Lick video. And the nail went through the penny, through a piece of old fence staple embedded in the stump, and into the wood. I did not notice the fence staple until I checked the camera 3 weeks later, and the deer activity at that stump was roughly double what I was seeing on a control stump 60 yards away that had the standard 2-metal setup. Same ridge, same timber, same 3-week window. The only difference was that the western Maryland stump had 3 metals in contact instead of 2. The fence staple was iron, the penny was copper, the nail was zinc-coated, 3 different metals, all touching each other, all in contact with the moisture in the punky wood. I stood there looking at the camera data, wondering what had changed, and when I pulled the nail out and saw the rusty fence staple sandwiched between the penny and the stump, it clicked. 3 metals. 3 simultaneous galvanic reactions. 3 different mineral ions releasing into the soil at the same time. Copper, zinc, and iron. That is the triple lick, and it costs less than the penny itself, is worth as currency because a pre-1982 penny is worth about 2.5 cents in copper melt value. Add a zinc nail for a nickel and an iron nail for 3 cents, and you have a 30-cent mineral station that addresses the 3 most common trace mineral deficiencies in wild whitetail populations. And the 3 weeks I spent figuring out why it worked better than the standard setup became the most productive accident of my entire hunting career. I have been running this deliberately for 2 full seasons now across properties in 4 states. And the camera data is consistent enough that I will never go back to the 2-metal version. I am going to explain the chemistry, the exact materials, and the placement. Stay until the end because there is a salt and charcoal preparation that turns the triple lick into a 4-signal mineral station that I believe is the most effective passive attractant I have tested in 28 years of deer hunting. Before you install any mineral attractant, check your state wildlife agency website. Mineral deposits in soil are classified as bait in several states and restricted in CWD management zones. What is legal in Maryland may get you a citation in New York. 5 minutes of research protects your tag. The chemistry of why 3 metals outperform 2 starts with understanding that each pair of different metals creates its own independent galvanic cell when moisture bridges them. In a 2-metal setup, copper and zinc, you get 1 galvanic cell producing copper ions and zinc ions. When you add iron as a 3rd metal, you do not just add 1 more mineral to the mix. You create 3 separate galvanic cells operating simultaneously. Cell 1 is copper and zinc, same as the standard setup. Cell 2 is copper and iron. Cell 3 is iron and zinc. Each cell has a different voltage potential because each metal pair sits at a different position on the galvanic series, which is the ranking of how aggressively metals exchange electrons. The copper-zinc pair produces the highest voltage and the fastest zinc dissolution. The copper-iron pair produces a moderate voltage and a steady release of iron ions. The iron-zinc pair produces a lower voltage but adds a secondary pathway for zinc dissolution that the 2-metal setup does not have. The result is that 3 metals in contact produce more total mineral ions per hour than 2 metals, and they produce 3 different mineral types instead of 2. The deer's nose detects a broader mineral spectrum coming from the triple lick stump than from a standard 2-metal stump. And a broader spectrum triggers a stronger investigative response because it more closely mimics a natural mineral deposit. Natural clay licks and burn sites, the places deer voluntarily seek out and return to for years, contain dozens of mineral compounds in varying concentrations. The triple lick does not replicate that full complexity, but it gets closer than any 2-metal system can. 3 minerals is not 20, but 3 minerals is meaningfully better than 2 for triggering the deer's mineral-seeking behavior. A mineral researcher at Clemson University, whose work I read on trace mineral requirements in ruminants, noted that iron, zinc, and copper are the 3 most commonly deficient trace minerals in wild whitetail populations across the eastern United States. Those are the exact 3 minerals the triple lick produces. I am not claiming I designed this on purpose. I stumbled onto it through a fence staple. But the biology supports why it works, even if the discovery was dumb luck. I would like to say I engineered this from first principles. I did not. I got lucky with a fence staple, but I was smart enough to check the camera data carefully, notice the anomaly, and figure out what caused it. The discovery was accidental. The testing that followed was deliberate, and the 2 seasons of data since then have been consistent enough that I trust the method even if I cannot claim credit for inventing it. The materials cost about 30 cents total. 1 pre-1982 copper penny, 1 galvanized nail, 3 to 4 inches long, roughly the length of your index finger, and 1 plain iron nail or iron fence staple, about 2 inches long, roughly the length of your thumb from tip to first knuckle. Everything in this video, plus 60 more field-tested techniques, is in The Buck Hunter's Bible. 90 pages of deer behavior, science scent control, scouting methods, stand placement, and rut phase tactics, with a quick reference card you can take to the stand. Link in the description below, QR code on screen. The iron nail must be uncoated plain steel or iron, not galvanized, not stainless, not painted. Galvanized nails are coated in zinc, which is what your first nail already provides. A second galvanized nail would just give you more zinc surface but no iron. Stainless steel is designed to resist corrosion, which means it will not dissolve and release ions, which defeats the purpose. You want a nail that rusts. The rustier it gets, the more iron it is releasing. Plain steel nails cost about 3 cents each at any hardware store, and they come in boxes of 100 for $3. You have enough iron nails for a lifetime of triple lick sights for the cost of a gas station coffee, which, by the way, you should stop drinking on the way to the stand because every sip deposits human scent on the lid, the steering wheel, and your gloves. Drink it at home. Take the nails to the woods. Stack the penny flat against the stump face. Place the iron nail or fence staple on top of the penny, so it touches both the copper and the stump wood. Then drive the galvanized nail through the penny and the iron nail into the stump. 1 hit to start, 2 hits to seat. All 3 metals are now in physical contact with each other, and the wood holds moisture against all of them. The stump is the moisture reservoir that keeps the 3 galvanic cells running between rain events. A punky stump, one that has been decomposing for 2 to 5 years and feels soft when you press your thumb into it, holds moisture for 10 to 14 days in humid eastern climates. A hard, fresh stump dries out in 3 to 4 days. Use the punky stump. I keep beating this drum because every season I get a message from someone who says the galvanic setup did not work, and every time I ask the same question, what kind of stump did you use? And every time the answer is either a fresh-cut stump or a stump in full sun. Moisture is the engine that drives every galvanic reaction. If the engine has no fuel, nothing happens. A punky stump on the north side of a ridge, shaded by the canopy in soil that stays damp, is the ideal host. If you do not have that, drill 3 or 4 holes in the stump face with a 3/8 inch drill bit, about the width of a pencil, to create moisture channels that help the wood absorb and hold rain longer. I have said this in every galvanic video, and I will keep saying it because it is the single most common reason people try this technique and report that it did not work. They put the metals on a hard stump in direct sun. The moisture evaporates in 48 hours. The reaction stops. No ions, no deer. Punky stump in shade. That is the rule. A buddy who manages a hunting cooperative in N.E., Oklahoma, which is Ozark foothill country, with a mix of post oak, blackjack, and cedar, installed 8 triple lick sights across the property last July. He placed them all on punky stumps at trail junctions and ran Bushnell cell cameras on each one. By mid-September, he had cataloged 14 different bucks across the 8 sites, including 3 bucks over 140 inches that had never appeared on any camera on the property in the previous 2 seasons. He called me and said the triple lick stumps were pulling deer he did not know existed. Same observation I had on the Western Maryland property. The deer were on the property the whole time. They were just never where the cameras were. The mineral signal gave them a reason to visit a specific location, and the triple mineral breadth of that signal reached deer that a 2 mineral setup was not pulling. His data was anecdotal, same as mine, and 8 sites on one property is not a controlled study. But 14 bucks, including 3 new mature deer on a property that had been camera surveyed for 4 years prior, is a meaningful change. Something shifted. The triple lick was the only new variable. He is running them again this season on all 8 sites and adding 4 more on a neighboring lease. If the second-year data holds up, he plans to drop the commercial mineral program he has been running for the last 6 years entirely. That is a $400 per year savings on a 2,000-acre cooperative, replaced by $2.40 worth of pennies and nails. Over 10 years, that is $4,000 of commercial mineral replaced by $24 of hardware store supplies. His accountant is going to have questions about why the mineral line item in the budget dropped by 99%. The answer is 3 metals and a rotten stump. The detection range on the triple lick appears to be similar to the salted 2-metal setup, roughly 150 to 200 yards on a calm morning with decent soil moisture, about a football field and a half to 2 full football fields. I say appears because I have not run the same multi-camera distance gradient test on the triple lick that I ran on the copper and wire setup in East Texas. My evidence for the range estimate is approach angles on camera showing deer entering the frame from the downwind direction at the far edge of the camera's detection zone, which on a Bushnell cell camera is roughly 80 feet, about 27 yards. That tells me the deer were already committed to the site before they entered the camera frame, meaning they detected it from further away. How much further I cannot say precisely. Somewhere in the 100 to 200 yard range based on the approach behavior. This is where I would normally run a more detailed test, but 2 seasons of consistent approach angle data across 4 properties is enough to convince me the range is comparable to or better than the salted 2-metal version. I am the first to admit my methodology is imperfect. I am a hunter with a notebook, not a researcher with a grant. But the notebook is thick and the patterns are consistent, and that is enough to guide my decisions on where I put my stands and my cameras. Placement follows the standard mineral site rules, 15 to 25 yards from your shooting position, roughly the distance from the pitcher's mound to home plate, downwind of your stand on the prevailing wind, near an existing travel corridor or trail junction. The triple lick amplifies traffic that already exists. It does not manufacture traffic from empty timber. I put one on a flat in the SC Low Country last fall with 0 deer sign within 100 yards. Because the stump was perfect, punky live oak, north-facing, shaded all day. 2 weeks, 5 deer photos, all incidental. Moved it to a palmetto edge along a known doe trail 80 yards away and had 11 visits in the first week. Perfect stump in the wrong spot, loses to a decent stump in the right spot every time. I have made this mistake on more galvanic setups than I care to admit. The stump looks perfect, the wood is soft, the shade is right. And then I check the camera after 2 weeks and realize I put it in a dead zone because I fell in love with the stump instead of scouting the deer. The stump serves the deer, not the other way around. Find the deer first, then find a stump near the deer. The condition where the triple lick underperforms is on properties that already run supplemental feeding programs with commercial mineral stations. If there is a $30 bag of trophy rock or a commercial mineral lick within 200 yards of your triple lick, the deer are already getting their mineral needs met from a concentrated high-volume source. Your 30-cent setup is competing with a product that deposits 10 to 50 times more mineral volume per day. The triple lick wins on properties where no other mineral source is present because it becomes the only mineral signal in the area. On properties with existing mineral programs, it is just one more signal in a saturated environment, and the deer may not distinguish it from what they already have. If you hunt a property with an active supplemental mineral program, this technique is less likely to produce a noticeable change in camera activity. Focus the triple lick on properties where mineral supplementation is absent, which is most public land and a large percentage of private leases that do not run year-round management programs. Look, everything I am walking through here is in the Buck Hunter's Bible. 90 pages, scent control, scouting, stand placement, rut tactics, plus a quick reference card for the stand. Link in the description, QR code on screen. The salt and charcoal preparation I promised at the beginning is what takes the triple lick from a 3 mineral station to a 4 signal site that I have not been able to match with any other passive method. Before you hammer the metals into the stump, dig a shallow depression in the soil at the base of the stump, about 4 inches across and 2 inches deep, roughly the size and depth of a tuna can. Mix 1 tablespoon of coarse rock salt with 1 tablespoon of crushed hardwood charcoal, the natural kind without lighter fluid chemicals, and pack the mixture into the depression. Then install the triple lick metals in the stump face directly above the salt and charcoal pit. When it rains, water runs down the stump face, dissolves copper, zinc, and iron ions from the metals, and carries them into the salt and charcoal pit below. The salt increases the conductivity of the soil moisture, which accelerates all 3 galvanic reactions and extends the detection range. The charcoal serves a completely different function. Deer eat charcoal. This is not an attractant scent. This is a consumable mineral supplement. Livestock farmers have used charcoal blocks for cattle and horses for centuries because charcoal absorbs toxins in the digestive tract. Same reason humans take activated charcoal for food poisoning. Deer seek out charcoal at burn sites for the same reason. It aids digestion. A tablespoon of crushed charcoal in the soil at the base of a mineral stump gives deer a reason to paw the ground and lick the dirt, which extends their visit time from a quick sniff and move on to an extended stay of 2 to 4 minutes. Same visit duration increase I measured with the salt addition in the copper trick video. Extended visit time is what creates shot opportunities. A deer that sniffs and walks in 30 seconds barely gives you time to identify it. A deer that stays for 3 minutes gives you time to read antlers, wait for broadside, settle a pin on your PSE, and execute. The charcoal is what buys you that window. A hunter in the Adirondacks, New York, who I trade camera data with online, set up 4 triple lick sites with the salt and charcoal prep on a piece of public land he hunts every fall. His first season results showed an average of 19 unique deer visits per site over a 4-week period in September, including what he estimated was 6 different bucks 3.5 years or older across the 4 sites. On public land, where most mineral sites get destroyed by other hunters or ignored by educated deer, he attributes the success to the zero-maintenance design. He installed all 4 in August, walked away, and did not return until rifle season in November. 3 months of mineral production with 0 human scent deposited after installation day. Same ghost lick principle. The less you visit, the more the deer trust the site. The zero-maintenance design is not just convenient. It is the entire competitive advantage over commercial mineral products. Every time you haul a bag of mineral to a stump and pour it, you are depositing human scent at the exact location you want deer to visit without fear. The triple lick eliminates that cycle completely. You touch the site once in August, and the next human presence is your Kuyu jacket settling into a summit climber in November. 3 months of mineral production with 0 human contamination. That is why the deer show up at 4 p.m. instead of 2 a.m. My wife asked me why I had a jar of crushed charcoal next to the jar of pre-1982 pennies and the jar of iron nails on my workbench. I told her it was a mineral buffet for deer. She said my workbench looks like a chemistry lab run by someone who failed chemistry. She is not entirely wrong, but the workbench is organized by function even if it does not look like it. The penny jar is the copper source. The nail box is the zinc and iron source. The charcoal bag is the digestive supplement. The salt container is the conductivity booster. It is a mineral delivery system stored in mason jars and coffee cans. She calls it a mess. I call it inventory. But the Bushnell camera on the Western Maryland stump does not grade on academic credentials. It grades on deer photos. And the triple lick with the salt and charcoal prep has produced more mature buck photos per site than any method I have tested in 28 years of hunting whitetails. 30 cents, 3 metals, 3 minutes, and a mineral site that works harder than the $28 bag of commercial mineral that dissolves in the first heavy rain and needs replacing every 6 weeks. The deer do not care what the setup looks like. They care about the ions in the soil. Give them copper, zinc, iron, sodium, and charcoal in one location, and they will wear a trail to that stump that you can follow with your eyes closed. And when someone at deer camp asks what mineral product you are running, you can decide whether to tell them you nailed a penny, 2 nails, and a handful of salt and charcoal to a rotten stump for 30 cents. Some things are easier to keep to yourself.